What's up, y'all? How you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Now, tonight we're going to talk about something that has really been bothering me for quite some time. I see it way too often in the gun community, especially here online. And I'm going to be talking about gatekeeping. Guys, we have seriously got to stop doing this. I mean, it's not good for us, it's not good for the community, it's not good for the industry, and it's not good for any of the gun enthusiasts that we know and love, or the hobby that we all obviously like to enjoy. Now, when I'm talking about gatekeeping, I'm talking about people who either set an unrealistic standard for new shooters, or what's the word I'm looking for? They covet the integrity of what they see as the gun community, or even worse, the training community, to a degree that is just asinine, for lack of a better word. It is just obnoxious, it's annoying, and it drives way too many people out of this community who otherwise would be welcomed with open arms, especially by trainers such as myself. Now, I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, and I can honestly care less. But one of the worst types of guys that are just the worst at gatekeeping when it comes to a firearms community, or even worse, the training community, is my ex-military guys. Now, guys, let me start this off by saying I have the utmost respect for military. In fact, if I'd had it my way, I'd be a career Green Beret right now. Unfortunately, I wanted to join the military right out of high school, but I've got some medical issues that kept me from doing that. Life just had other plans. But guys, that being said, at least from a trainer's perspective, y'all make the worst students. Okay? I've had a bunch of my friends admit this to me. Most of my friends actually are former military, and quite a few of them have a lot of combat deployments under their belt. And even they'll admit that a lot of soldiers make the worst students, and even worse yet, make the worst gatekeepers. What I mean by that is, you see guys like me. Maybe I'm a little out of shape. Maybe they're a little heavier. Maybe they're just a civilian that was never in the military, never in law enforcement, never had any professional background when it comes to tactical training or any real world need to do said tactical training other than that they just want to, it's fun, or airsoft or something, sporting, whatever, what have you. I see it way too often, especially online. I've had more than a few guys like this come at me in my comments, which that's neither here nor there, but it just gets annoying when I see him do it to other YouTubers or especially other trainers. When you see us walking around in our plate carriers or training in our plate carriers or teaching people how to use plate carriers and other gear, and right away you come out with, yeah, well, I didn't see you in the shit back when I was in the Delta Recon Ranger SEALs, back out there in that name that branch. I didn't see you in boot camp. You don't have no right to be doing this. Yeah, I hear that all the time. I'm sure more than a few of y'all watching have heard this also, and it is super freaking annoying. Not just because, it's kind of a complex, you think you're insulting us, in some cases maybe people do take offense to it, but not only that, but you're driving people away. Because one, you're kind of a hard ass when it comes to this stuff, which, I get it, it's sort of justified in some circumstance. Now, if somebody's going full-blown stolen valor, yeah, I get it, definitely give that guy a hard time. But if it's just an average schlub like myself who's out there trying to better themselves, trying to better their skills, and get a little tactical training under their belt, guys, you can do better. We all can. But some people that do this kind of stuff, they're the worst at it. Another type that really gets under my skin, and it's kind of in the same vein as this. Not just the, well, I didn't see you when I was in the name that branch, or worse yet, I was in the name that branch, and the way we did it in the name that branch, that's the way name that branch does it. That's the only way you can possibly do it. You don't know squat. Well, that's a whole other video. I'm going to get into that later. But the second type of guy, particularly in this community, but also somewhat in the civilian or training community, are the guys who think that before you can teach anybody anything, you have to have been a 20 or 30 year Special Forces veteran who went over and personally pulled the trigger on Bin Laden and Hussein or some crap like that. That you have to be somebody like Matt Best or Tu Lam or John Lovell, somebody who has spent the majority of their adult career in a specifically Special Forces, not always just regular Army or regular Marines, but specifically Special Forces background. The kind of guy that'll walk up to you and say, well, what unit were you in? How long did you serve? How many tours did you go on? You can't teach me nothing. Can't teach nobody nothing. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I see that all the time too, not just to myself, but to other trainers I know, and a lot of people I see at the range, or in classes, or whatever, or online, especially online. See it all the time. It drives a lot of people off, and it really, really annoys me personally. Because think about it, guys. yes, I said this in my short that I use pretty much to promote this video. Real world experience is invaluable. It is very, very important. It's very good to have. And trust me, if Tulam or some other badass special forces dude who's actually been there, done it, pulled triggers professionally, if they come onto my class and say, okay, I'm doing this now, please step aside, I'd probably let them. If they had the actual creds, the actual credentials, and they could prove to me that they are a better trainer than me. I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. I'm not afraid to admit when someone better than me wants to do what I am doing or help me do what I am doing, preferably. But that being said, guys, don't be that dude who thinks that just because you spent 2 years at Fort Polk in a unit that is supposed to be combat-oriented, but you never actually pulled the trigger in anger or went overseas, that you're suddenly special friggin' forces. Or worse yet, you're just that good. You just have that much skill. You just know that much about this. Unless you've got that Ranger tab and at least one Special Forces patch on your sleeve, ain't nobody can teach you nothing. And better yet, they can't teach nobody nothing either because they ain't Special Forces. That is one of the biggest things that drives people away. Because that creates a mindset, not only in our own community, but in people who want to come into the community, who want to become gun owners, who want to get that training, that the only people that can possibly teach them anything are the guys that have been overseas, who've pulled triggers professionally, have actual combat experience, which is awesome. I reiterate, I could not have more respect for the military, especially y'all that have been in harm's way. I cannot say that enough. But you cannot create this atmosphere and this mindset that the only way anybody can teach anybody anything is if you've actually been over there and been in combat and you have done these things. Because again, that's invaluable if you're teaching people how to gunfight. If you're teaching people how to conceal carry and do the basic stuff like I want to do, or like many, many, many other trainers out there do, you're just creating a roadblock for people who are trying to get into the community. And it sucks. It's not a good thing to do. That is gatekeeping at its finest. Then, of course, you have the third type of person that really grinds my gears. That is the fitness gurus. Yes, I get it, guys. I've had a lot of you guys come after me in the comments. A lot of guys come after people I know, people I've seen at the range or online, on Facebook, whatever. Yes, I get it. I'm a big guy. A lot of us country boys are big guys. I got a little belly on me. I enjoy a cheeseburger every once in a while. In fact, I just had one tonight. Probably shouldn't have, but I did. Not as in good a shape as I used to be. I'd like to be. I'm working on that. A lot of people are. But please do not have this mindset where in order for you to even pick up a plate carrier, to pick up a rifle, to even think about going out there and doing any kind of practical tactical training, that you have to be this Olympic level athlete with arms the size of redwoods and washboard abs that would make Arnold Schwarzenegger jealous. I mean, come on, guys. Don't do this. I mean, as I said, fitness is very important. It's actually extremely important if you're training for an actual combat role. Say you're going into the military, you're going into law enforcement, you're going into some kind of field that requires you to be that fit. Or if you're actually planning to have to do this for real, outside of a law enforcement or military standpoint. Let's say you're preparing for the day that something like what's currently going on in Atlanta happens right now, or is going on right now. If something like that were to happen in your town, in your neighborhood, in your small town, or your wherever, and you think you'll actually have to put these skills to good use, hopefully we never do, but if you're preparing for that, that's awesome. We should all be in shape. I'm working on it. You're working on it. We should all be working on that. But do not create an environment that says, well, you know what? Unless you could qualify for the Olympics, unless you just got through selection, heck, unless you can put to shame somebody like Usain Bolt, Matt Best, or Tulam, you shouldn't even be doing this. Come on, guys, that's gym rat talk. Do not be doing that crap. You are, again, driving so many people away. Because think about it. That big guy, the chubby guy kind of like myself, who's out there on the range, running and gunning, wearing his kit, wearing his plate carrier, trying to do getting those reps, build that skill set. Maybe he isn't in the best shape of his life, but he's trying to be. I mean, you can even think of it as a gateway drug to actual fitness routines. Because the best way to find your limitations, guys, is to go out there and meet those limitations. What do I mean by that? I mean, somebody like myself, I've actually got a little $40 Condor plate carrier down here on the floor. It's got my old steel plates in it. I wear polys now because they're so much lighter and so much more effective. But I use that for weight training now. I will put that sucker on, go running around the property, run maybe a quarter of a mile or so, full sprint, as fast as I can go. Very rarely these days do I make it to the full quarter mile. Why? Because I'm out of shape. Because the last few months have been extremely busy, haven't had time to hit the gym. I'm not making any excuses, but it's neither here nor there. Now I know where my limits are. Now I know what I need to train up to. I've seen so many people out on the range in my classes or in other people's classes or in just freebie classes that I teach for guys that I know. I've seen so many people put on their full set of battle rattle and they start running and gunning. Maybe they're ex-military, have been out for quite a few years, but they go out there, they try to do it, and they realize, holy crap, I'm not as young as I used to be. Or, holy crap, I am way out of shape, I really need to work on this. Now they're inspired. Or now they're thinking, you know what, this is a lot more fun than just running like a hamster on a treadmill, or just hitting the weights at Planet Fitness every other day. It is so much more fun to put on this plate carrier with these heavy plates and all these mags and, the rifle and stuff. I want to be out here doing cool guy stuff because the more I do it, the better I'm going to get, the faster I'm going to get, the stronger I'm going to get. It's going to be awesome. But if you create that environment that says, unless you already look like Tulam or John Lovell or Matt Best or whoever, name that fitness tactical icon, unless you already look like them, train like them, and are them, then you have no business doing this in the first place. You should just leave. That is not good. We are driving so many people away with this. I have seen so many new firearms owners or people who are seeking to get this kind of training, and they get all gung-ho about it, and they start asking around, talking to people, and they hear these kind of statements saying, well, I really want to go out there. I want to start training. I want to learn how to do this. And somebody comes out and says, well, you were in the military, so knock it off. You ain't supposed to do that. Or, well, were you in Special Forces? Well, then what are you doing? You weren't Special Forces. You weren't named that branch. You weren't Delta Recon Ranger SEALs. So you ain't got no business doing this. Or, really, dude, you're out of shape. You're kind of flabby around the midsection. You can't run 12 miles at a stretch without stopping for a water break. I mean, you can't do all these things that all these other guys do that I watch on TV. So you really shouldn't even try. That's not good. This is gatekeeping at its finest. You do not want to be that person. It's bad all around. These days, guys, we cannot afford to be driving everyone we know out of this community. Our gun rights are under constant assault right now. Our rights are under constant attack. People are trying to take away everything we have. They're coming after us left and right. The ATF is coming out with that pistol ban. Biden is pushing another assault weapons ban. We got that BS in California that just happened. We got the crap that's going on in Atlanta right now, which is kind of highlighting why we should be training in the first place because, believe it or not, the world exists. The world is dangerous. Things like Atlanta happen. Things like 2020 happen. Things like Monterey Bay happen. We need to train for this. We need to be prepared for it. And we need to let people in and let them have the mindset that they also can do this. We need to be willing to train them. So if you're a former military guy, or if you're the fitness guy, or if you're, you can't teach me nothing unless you're Special Forces guy, or any of the other types that I'm sure you all know, I'm sure we've all seen them, but I didn't cover in this video. If you're one of these people, step back and think for a moment before you speak. Really consider what is it you're doing if this person comes to you and asks, hey man, you were in the military? That's awesome. I mean, I want to learn how to do that. I mean, do you have any tips? Like, what kind of gear should I buy? How should I set up my rifle? What kind of drills should I learn? Oh, hey, I really want to be able to do that, what's that thing called? The Darby Queen, or I want to do an Army Ranger fitness routine. Do you have any tips? Before you go barking at them that, well, you weren't in name that branch, you weren't in name that team, you're not, you can't do this, that, or the other, you can't run this or lift that, so just back off and go away. Before you do that, stop and think, how can I help this person? How can I help them to better themselves? I know this, I know about that. I know a whole lot about this and that. How can I help them on their journey? How can I help them be the person they want to be and help them in their training goals, whether it's fitness, whether it's shooting, whether it's gear, whether it's self-defense, whatever it is within the gun community. We cannot be gatekeepers. We need to be gate openers. We need to be the people who welcome people in, not drive people away. That's just my 2 cents. Do with it what you will. Stay wise, stay armed, stay trained, and stay frosty, my friends.